Hey, what's up everybody, Grappler JMO here to do my first anime review in quite a few months, and as you know, I'm not going to do my anime reviews with my usual format by showing clips of the anime and all that stuff, because I just don't have the time and resources to do, my anime reviews like that anymore, so I'm sorry that doesn't work out. But anyway, here's my first review in a long time, the first season of Code Geass, Lelouch the Rebellion. Taking place in an alternate future, for the past 10 or so years, Japan, now renamed Area 11, has been under the brutal rule of the Britannian Empire. Despite this, a resistance movement is being carried out in the ruins of Shinjuku. And accidentally caught up in the chaos, Lelouch Lamperouge, a Britannian student who hates the Empire, is given the power of the Geass. He is given to this by a girl named C2, who was under the custody of the Empire. With the Geass, Lelouch now has the power of persuasion with direct eye contact. With his newfound ability, along with his other natural talents such as his, high charisma and intelligence, Lelouch joins the resistance and becomes its leader under the moniker Zero, who now has decided to reorganize the rebellion and turn into a legitimate army for the people they wish to defend and liberate. To start my personal opinions of this series off, a good number of people tend to classify this as a mech series, but the mech novelty, especially in the first season since I'm reviewing this one, comes across as more secondary in comparison to other robot anime such as Gundam, in which the story, characters, and the mech action all have equal priority and fame. Code Geass, with its presentation, gives me the cerebral intensity and suspense that Death Note offers, and I see it more as a suspense and political intrigue anime as opposed to being a mech anime. In relating to my opinion of this, Lelouch's Zero isn't really used that much as an uber ace pilot in the same vein that Amuro Ray from Gundam and Ichijo Hikaru from Macross are. Lelouch is really more of a mix between a politician and battlefield tactician, and doesn't really directly engage in the fights that much. In a way, Lelouch is a lot more like Light from Death Note, and you can sort of say that C2 is like Ryuk. Not only do I think of him as Light, he does have a lot of Char's novel's traits as well, even though he isn't as seasoned or as badass as someone like Char. But I did hear that Char's novel influenced part of his character. But as the series progresses, the audience will find themselves at moral odds with Lelouch, with his ambitions and methods, and this will kind of be more prevalent in Season 2. The supporting cast is well diverse, strong, and has an outstanding presence that gives equal contribution to the establishment and development of the overall story. You may not get to know all of them in their personal backgrounds, but they all have time to shine and they all have their memorable moments. And the world of this series is driven by the characters and its politics. Though not as directly as related as Gundam 00, it does relate to real-life events in world history, and does make you reflect on them. I'm pretty sure, I wouldn't really call this the most original touch, but with the approach and execution, it does feel very fresh and along with its intrigue. The story is evenly paced overall, pretty much straight to the point, and does have a unique unpredictability I don't want to get into. Of course, I don't want to get into that because of spoilers, so I'll leave it here. So check out the series for yourself, and for now, I give the story and characters a 9.25 out of 10. The character design for the most part was done by manga artist team Clamp, who also did Magic Knight Ray-Earth, X, Cardcaptor Sakura, and Chobits. But I also heard that an in-studio designer for Sunrise was part of it as well. The design in comparison to Clamp's 90s works does look more generic and mainstream and streamlined. Granted, Clamp's designs can be a little one-dimensional, but I always liked how distinctive it was compared to most anime and manga. I always loved the detail around the eyes and how they were kind of like trapezoids and had this complexity towards them. I thought their style of eye drawing had this, unique life to them, as well as drawing the strands of hair, even though this is kind of more emphatic in their mangas. I wish their more old-school style as presented in the video to the ending themes to the second season were more utilized instead. I have yet to read the manga, but if the art style is presented in the same way that their older manga is, then I'll be more than happy to read it. To me, the designs were rehashed to resemble more of Hirai Hisashi, the character designer of Gundam Seed, especially the face shapes and the anatomy, especially the height of the characters. I just wish the style was more directly resemblance to X and Magic Knight Ray-Earth instead. But despite my nitpicking with this, I still feel that it does have other qualities that are still captivating and immersing. Even though I don't feel the character design is up to par with their older works, as I said before, I do feel that the costume design is pretty sweet. I really like the costume that Lelouch has in his Zero persona. Even though he's physically weak, I like how the suit along with the cape and mask give him this overwhelming physical presence. Even though he's hiding himself, he stands out in a way in which he seems like the great leader that he comes out to be. The action is pretty well grounded a majority of the time, and I feel that the approach to the fighting is very realistic in its emphasis on guerrilla tactics and strategy, as opposed to being either like a lucky, a gifted freak, or, just plain old going apeshit. Even though some of those qualities will be presented in this series from time to time, there is always an interesting treat with each battle, and the unpredictability factor does come into play. The designs of the main mechs, such as the Lancelot and the Gawain, do remind me of the Rune Gods from Magic Knight Re-Earth, so it's nice to see some of that influence implemented here. And the rest of the nightmares pretty much reflect the aristocratic nature of the series. And did I mention that this series kicks ass if you watch it in HD? If you do, the resolution and colors are just so awesome to watch it in. So that's my thoughts on the art and animation, and I give it an 8.5 out of 10. With the exception of the second opening theme, Kaido Kufuno, the opening and ending theme songs are top-notch. It reflects the themes of the series very accurately, and the general background music suits the mood and atmosphere, so I got no complaints other than just the second opening theme. The voice acting, I can't say I have mixed feelings, but I do think that both the Japanese and English version capture certain qualities that one or the other couldn't, especially in relation to Lelouch. With Fukuyama Jun's portrayal, I thought he had this overwhelming charisma as Zero and sounded very authoritative. Even without a Geass power, I thought he came across as very persuasive. But for the Lelouch, the schoolboy character, I thought Johnny Young Bosch did a much better job. He came across as more unassuming, while I felt the Japanese portrayal made him more suspicious. But as Zero, Johnny Young Bosch didn't really have that overwhelming charisma that Fukuyama Jun has. So, how can I put this more in a nutshell? To me, Fukuyama Jun's Lelouch was more like a Bruce Wayne, but as Zero, he was Superman. But Johnny Young Bosch, he was a Clark Kent as Lelouch, but more like Batman as Zero. That's how their portrayals of the character came across to me. As for the rest of the cast, of course in an overall sense, I think the Japanese version feels superior, while I felt the English version was just good. But outside of Johnny Young Bosch, I don't think it's really anything too special or up to the level of Gundam Wing or Cowboy Bebop. So I'll conclude this part of the review with a 9 out of 10 for music and voice acting. While I say whether or not you like mech, I feel this will be quite a series to check out. I feel its strongest point isn't, of course, the mechs, as I said before, but the characters, the politics, and the plot twists. In a way, I felt that the charisma of Zero is very immersing, which represents a good percentage of why I think anybody can enjoy the show. So if you're looking for something fresh in conjunction to some anime you enjoy with their action, character story, and cerebral orientation, then I say Code Geass is the series for you, which I give an overall score of a 9 out of 10.